G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. Let's have a little video on cleaning the DaVinci, the fancy pantsy electric computerized oven. So that elliptical plug there is made out of rubber and it is detachable. Here we see the undersurface and you can see the condensed resin sticking to the cold rubber where it has made its pathway from the top of the rubber plug in what they call the flavour chamber. Before proceeding any further, I might as well take the battery out. That's the new battery that'll go in. Right, so probably next step will be to empty the oven. So for that we withdraw our little cleaning rod. There's the chamber and prepare a suitable receptacle with which to receive the burnt offering, that which cometh out from the chamber. First step, unscrew the airflow meter ball and using the pokery jiggery rod, get the vegetable matter away from there, then blocking the top of the oven, blow the dust away from the screw thread. Before, might as well do that back up so you don't get any burnt dust in there by accident. And then we just voila, we now have the not burnt, not pyrolyzed, merely electrically heated used mixed herbs. And there we see, I probably should have gone for another cook through because some of that is still a bit green. That's just an occupational hazard with these vaporizing machines, in my experience. And now we take to other end. Previously we've been using the pick end. Now we take the raker end and we go down in there and we physically try and scrape the inside of the ceramic heating chamber. And I first thought, for a couple of days, that perhaps that black rim was where the heating element was, to try and heat the air that goes into the chamber. But I've since decided, deduced, speculated, and now prepared to assert that the heating element is wrapped around the white ceramic oven chamber, and that black thing there is the curved surface of an O-ring, which is supposed to oppose that little zirconium perlite ball. So anyway, there is that. Now, having screwed that back up to keep the dust out of it, we can now remove it and put it in a cup. And having blown a little bit of air through there from a Mark 1 set of lungs, maybe gone in there once again at an angle with a pick to try and dig any crusty bits out of the corner. Not too bad. It's tempting to try and clean that out of there, but you wouldn't want to risk getting anything into the mechanism. Okay, and now we have the fun part. Haven't done this with this particular one before. This is easy. And there is, by the way, there is a second spare cleaning rod, as a spare. And also an alternative version of the flat mouthpiece. And this one has a connection for a rubber hose to go into a water filter. If you want to pretend that you're going to use a bong and cool it down anymore, you can. Or you can just suck directly on that if you're not capable of pulling off the top of that. And that gives you an idea of the offset. While I think of it, I've got the kit open. We do in fact have a cleaning of the brush with which to satisfactorily poke and prod and scratch and scrape without getting any kind of liquid in there, which might possibly perhaps upset electronics. Is it any particularly cleaner? Probably not. But we tried. A bit of major tripod shape there. You'll have to forgive me for, because I'm not going to go back and reshoot the rest of this. Okay, now back on with the top end. So now I get to first up dig the little tube out, which sort of goes like this. Stick that under there, and there is a lip on the other side of the glass. And then you might want to go around the outside. This could take a while. I'll do it off camera. There we go. Trick established. You use the sharp point of the pick. You dig in from there, and then you use a little bit of leverage, and you get it just up enough. But then it becomes easy to hook the angle part of the pick into the lip and pull it out of its grommet, and by that stage you can get a hold of it with your fingers and pull that out. And this is what they call the flavour chamber, and there is the dag end of whatever tar and everything makes it out of the actual baking oven. And then we have another stage where we stick that part into this little hole, and that retrieves the plug. And then in there we have all of the tar that would have tried to get from the baking chamber into this, which is cooler, and it just precipitates out to the stage where by the time you get up to here, you've only got that little bit of shininess there. So now we take that, and it takes some isopropyl alcohol, and this is about $10 worth. I was outraged, how expensive it is, but 300 mils is 30 bucks, and I think this was 12 bucks or something. And yeah, you could spray it on, but the idea is I'm going to cover it and soak it. So the video goes on pause. Hey, 1 hour later, and the view has changed somewhat. A lot more has dissolved. And now I will do some agitation and see what I can dig out of it. Yep, very definitely. Soaking it is a lot better than trying to wash it and scratch it and scrape it and scrub it. So I will pour that lacquer away, and having dried these 3 pieces, I'll set them aside and we'll give the flavour chamber one more go, because on the inside of there I can see there are some still sticking bits and pieces, but it's a lot cleaner than it was. And so give it a bit more isopropyl alcohol in which to soak. After a bit of a soak in the alcohol, wash a few particles out, we might see what we get with the brush, eh? Yes, I can see there's more crap floating in the bottom now. That looks a lot cleaner. I think that might be a goer. So that's my tip, is dry brush for the oven chamber. Soak it for an hour, change the water, and then a wet brush in isopropyl alcohol for the chamber, just as a final touch-up. Right, so there we go. And we will let that dry out. Meanwhile, that's what came out of the final rinse out, wash, brushing and scrubbing. And there we have the end of a white tissue. So I think we got it pretty clean. Such is my conjecture. To do that, we used about $5 or $6 worth of isopropyl alcohol. But there are 5 batteries on the chart, and we've done 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 full recharges. And what it claims is a 0.5 of a gram dry herb oven. So if I've been putting 3.3 grams in there, then that's 8.25 grams worth of mixed herbs. And if I've been putting 0.5 of a gram in there, then it's 12.5 grams of mixed herbs over 10 days. And the most recent 5 batteries that I was using, let me see here what the figures show. 64 puffs, 45 puffs, 50 puffs, 58 puffs, 66 puffs. So 50 to 60 puffs out of 0.5 of a gram. You're getting about the same number of puffs from the vaporizer as you would from a wooden pipe. But as I said, because the vaporizer does not provide any carbon monoxide, you don't get the hypoxic head spin for the first 5 to 15 minutes. And therefore, people are going to think that the vaporizer is not as efficient as a pipe. I think the vaporizer is as efficient as a pipe, but the pipe gives you more impurities that give you a different sort of a sensation to the head spin at the start of the effect. And now that's pretty much all I got to show you today, other than, I suppose, reassembling the unit, which of course involves opening that up. And I'm not going to do anything at all to the inside of that chamber, because yeah, there might be some gunk down the bottom of it, but I have no way of cleaning it without risking the integrity of the unit, and I don't want to risk the integrity of the unit. So that little plug goes back in, that goes back in and is firmly seated all the way at the bottom. This comes up here and it gets placed in its correct alignment, so that is going to be over the top of that. Before we do anything to close the top, we should put the pick back in. We should open the battery hatch, put the battery in. This is the full battery. And then we open the bottom end up and we replace our little ceramic pearl. And as I do that, it squirts bloody isopropyl alcohol out of its screw thread, which is not quite what I expected, but such is life. I suppose I'll just make sure I haven't got any of it in the oven. Okay, there we go. That is how we clean our DaVinci IQc. There's probably more information on the topic than you thought you ever wanted to know. But if I don't tell it to you, who the hell else will? The answer is hundreds, perhaps thousands of other videos on YouTube. I'm just one of the many. Well, was on about the YouTube. Have a good one. Ciao.